In our last two sessions, we responded to a letter from a woman who wondered why she found it so much more difficult to love her husband and children than to love other people. We discussed the role of expectations in her irritation and proposed 6 steps she could take to greatly reduce her irritation at them. Now, back to the woman who wrote the letter. So now you know a lot about expectations and what you can do about them. But you also mentioned that you felt guilty that after all you've learned about real love, you still have times with your husband, for example, when you are so unloving, even selfish and hateful. At times like that, you feel like you take giant steps backward in your progress. First, let me help you with the guilt. You are learning to love your family. That takes time and practice. And in the process, making mistakes is simply unavoidable. Suppose, for example, that you are learning to play a new musical instrument. You'd have to start at the beginning. And in the beginning, you'd be pretty terrible at playing. Suppose you were in your first week of practicing the violin, for example, and I walked in while you were practicing. Would it make sense for me to laugh at you for playing so poorly? No. In fact, it would be a foolish attitude on my part. In fact, it would be more accurate for me to praise you for knowing more this week than you did last week, which was nothing. You need to lighten up, sweetie, and quit expecting yourself to suddenly be able to love your family unconditionally all the time. You think that just because you understand the principles of real love, you should be able to live them. Ridiculous. When I watch an accomplished violinist play, I can understand what she is doing. The bowing, the movement of the fingers on the fingerboard, the vibration of the neck, belly, and back of the violin. But that doesn't mean I can do what she's doing. The same is true of real love. All you can do is keep learning. All you can do is love the best you can, which may be far less than someone needs in any given moment. Always remember that. Your goal is to love as well as you can, not as much as someone needs. Now let's talk about your feeling that when you fail to love your husband, like when you have an argument, that you have taken giant steps backward in your real love education. This is not the case at all. Our ability to love grows with practice in very much the same way that we increase our ability to lift weights with practice. So imagine that as you first begin lifting weights, you can lift only 10 pounds above your head. Gradually, you add weights to the bar, and with time, you can lift 30 pounds over your head. Congratulations, way to go. You've tripled your ability. Then one day, while you have the 30 pounds lifted over your head, I suddenly add an additional 70 pounds to the bar for a total of 100 pounds. You are absolutely overwhelmed by the added weight, so you can do nothing but drop it immediately to the ground. Now, in the moment that you dropped the 100 pounds, did you take a step backward in your training program? No, you did not. You can still lift the 30 pounds as before, and that is still triple the weight that you could lift when you began your training. You are still moving forward. So, how shall you see this event? This dropping of the 100 pounds. It's not a step backward, nor is it a failure in your program. Instead, it's simply information. You just learned that you are incapable of lifting 100 pounds. Simple. That's it. And it's the same when you get irritated with your husband. When you interact with people of whom you have low expectations, people who are easy to accept and love, you do just fine with your 30 pounds of real lovability. But then your husband comes along with all your expectations and all of his unkind comments, and you find yourself in a situation where 100 pounds of real lovability is required. You're just learning that you're not yet able to love that much. You just found your limit. So what? Big deal. What matters is what you do next. Rather than wallow in defeat and despair, you simply keep taking the next steps. You tell the truth about yourself. You find people who can love you unconditionally, and you practice loving everybody you can. As you do that, your ability to love will steadily grow. And in time, you'll find yourself increasingly able to respond to your husband in loving ways. When you see all this as a process of learning, it becomes fun, not discouraging. Just do your best. It will be enough. It may not be enough in the eyes of others, but each step in loving will be enough to form a foundation from which you can take the next step. And you will grow in real love until it becomes natural and consistent and powerful.